Margbot.
This story begins in the summer, not just any summer, but my first summer as a mother, and a single mother at that. Typical story, my ex isn't and never wanted to be around. I was too overwhelmed with my new motherly duties to be upset about my predicament. I was exhausted, yet in love with my new addition. In the beginning of that summer, I met someone. I wasn't quite looking, but I found him. The connection was there, and so amazing that whenever small red flags popped up, I ignored them. We moved quickly. After a month of seeing him every day, he started sleeping over every night. He was my saving grace at the time. He adored my son. He did the 2 a.m. feedings, cooked dinner for me, and took care of me and my infant when I had emergency surgery in the fall. He did the laundry, he cleaned the house. I mean, the man did it all. How did I get so lucky? I was just an average, depressed, single mom. I never thought I'd find myself happy like this. It didn't last forever. Within a few months, he became a little controlling and jealous, abusive at times. He started doing illegal things, read, selling, and using drugs. I didn't agree, but when I protested, I was met with a slap across the face or being belittled. I don't know which was worse. The bruises fade, but my self-esteem never really healed. By winter, Christmas Day to be exact, I kicked him out. I had enough. He was sorry, he wanted to stay together for our son. Yes, he saw my son as his own. However, I did not want to give in. I had been in a previous bad relationship and didn't want this to continue for as long as I did the last time. Less than 2 weeks later, the heat went out in my car. Stupidly, I asked him to fix it since he had caused the electrical problems in my car in a fit of rage a while back. He agreed to check it out, so I took it to him. Me and my son sat in the car bundled up while he attempted to fix it. Eventually he rigged it and got the heat up and running again, but I couldn't leave just yet. He wanted to talk about us. I did not. I started having an anxiety attack. I told him I would go to the police station around the block if he refused to get out of my car. He smirked and egged me on. Sure that I would back down, I got out of the car, and as I was going around to the other side to get my son out of his car seat, he jumped into the driver's seat and took off. I called him. He told me to take a walk to clear my head and hung up on me. What? I knew he was most likely headed to one place, his friend's apartment a few blocks away. Their daughter babysat for me a few times, so I was hoping. I was praying. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't immediately register the situation for what it was. My biggest mistake. His mind games were working. I wondered if my panic attack was worse than I remembered, and if he was taking the baby to his friend's house while I cleared my head. In the freezing cold of the night, I ran. I ran until I couldn't feel anything on my body, and I reached the apartment complex, and I didn't see his car. His friend's apartment was on the second floor, so I ran inside, ran upstairs, and knocked on their door. They were taken aback at my appearance. My hair was likely out of place, and I was so out of breath. They didn't say it, but I knew they were sick of hearing our problems. They'd witnessed the fights too many times. They assured me he would probably turn up at their house at any minute. And of course, my son was safe with him. Of course, they believed this was his son. He'd met them shortly after meeting me through his cousin, so they had no reason to believe otherwise. He claimed the baby as his own, and this was not the moment to correct them. I left their door and rushed downstairs. Now see, the downstairs was in the process of being renovated. It was dimly lit and there were hallway doors and apartments half open, a cold draft coming through. I felt like I couldn't breathe. This is like a scene from a recurring nightmare. I ran up and down 2 hallways down there before he finally called me back. I picked up, but he spoke first, and I heard his voice echo somewhere near me. My phone had been on silent and vibrate, so I knew he didn't hear it. I slowly made my way towards the front of the building, and he was standing there. I slowly put the phone down and asked him, "Where is my son?" He laughed and asked me if I was done freaking out. He pointed outside, saying the baby was in the car asleep. I went to run to the door so I could get outside. He stops me. He then says he just dropped the baby off upstairs and his friend's daughter was feeding him. I sighed and felt a little relief. We continued going back and forth. He kept telling me this would end if I would chill out and take him back home with me. He proposed the idea of making a late dinner and watching a movie together. Yeah, no thanks. Enough. I ran upstairs and banged on the door. His friend opened up with an unhappy look on his face. I quickly asked him to let me in so I could grab my son. He said he still hadn't seen my ex or the baby yet. I heard that and I darted downstairs. My ex was no longer standing there. I ran down one of the hallways. Maybe he went out a back exit. No luck. But as soon as I got to the front of the building, he was there again. My car, however, was no longer visible. I screamed at him this time. "Where is my son? Where is my son?" I was becoming more and more aggressive. I felt like a lion unleashing my rage. Where the fuck was my infant? Was he in the car? Where was the car then? Why was he left alone? My head was spinning. I couldn't breathe. I can't even remember what dumbass answers he was feeding me. I vaguely remember being told many different excuses and locations of where my car was parked. I just got to the point where I was streaming tears down my face and I kept repeating, "Where's my son? Where is my son?" I knew he wouldn't hurt my son. I believed that. Throughout our troubles, he never once showed ill intentions towards my son. But why couldn't he just let me take my baby home? I was loud. My yells were echoing. Nobody came out of their apartments. We were in a bad area. People minded their business out of fear of being targeted. Then again, maybe no one heard us because we were in the downstairs level where it was empty. Or so I thought. I backed away from him and went to unlock my phone. I needed to call 911. I never stood up and called them to protect myself, but I had to protect my son. Why didn't I call them sooner? God damn it, my cold fingers were numb and I couldn't remember my passcode in my desperation. 071... He growled for me to run quick and I saw him round down a hallway. Within the blink of an eye, 2 police officers opened the front door to the apartment building and asked me if I was a woman looking for my son. They'd gotten a call that a woman was in distress. Yes, it was me. I told them what I could. They had me stand there and wait while they searched the empty downstairs and checked the friend's apartment. My son wasn't anywhere in there. It was all a blur. I don't know how much time had passed before more police showed up. They were whispering to each other. Why? It hasn't been long, has it? They couldn't have gone far. I recited my license plate more times than I can count on my hands and feet. Yes, I was sure that was it. It had my son's initials in it and a number combo that I memorized. They put out a call, whatever it was. Everyone in the city was searching for my car and my son. I showed them pictures of both. We presumed my son was left in the car, so they said they were posting officers on every highway ramp in case he was planning to go far. What? How the fuck did it get to this point? I was cold. Was my baby cold? My feet were hurting and my stomach growled lowly. Did the baby get a bottle? Was he hungry? The police told me it was going to be okay, but I needed to calm down and listen to them. I couldn't. My chest felt like it was being crushed. I closed my eyes and attempted to ground myself. An officer came up to me and tapped my shoulder. "Let's go," he said. I swallowed the lump in my throat and followed him outside. We walked for a few minutes and I saw a crowd of police officers. I saw a bunch of flashlights going back and forth. I saw, "Is that my car? That's my car!" I started to yell. The officer next to me told me to relax. No. I ran as fast as I could. If I close my eyes right now, I can still feel my feet barely hitting the pavement. The feeling of the cold winter air I was breathing in. The numbness in my fingers. And most of all, I can still feel the spark of relief, happiness, and whatever million other words express the feel-good emotions I had when I ran up to my car and saw my son. An officer took my baby out of the car seat and handed him to me. I just hugged him and cried. He was okay, and his diaper was soaked through his clothes. I was asked to gather what I needed from the car and to go back to the apartment with them to finish the statement. My ex did not get caught that day. He put us through one more terrifying, memorable day before he was caught. However, that night there was a warrant issued for kidnapping. Later that night, my ex had already changed his number and called me telling me he knew he would be in trouble, so he was hiding out. I didn't care. I was silent on the phone. I kept checking on him every few minutes. He was fine. "Why are you so mad?" he asked. He didn't understand that though a seemingly quick incident was over, the damage was done. I hung up and blocked the new number. The day was over. My son was safe with me. But mommy guilt was eating me alive. It still is to this day. If only I never got involved with this man. If only I had called 911 when the relationship first went sour. I blame myself more than I blame him sometimes. I want to say, to the man who conned his way into our lives, to the man who took advantage of a weak woman and used her biggest weakness against her, to the man who made newspaper headlines and had people calling me and knocking at my door. Let's not meet again. However, the story unfortunately doesn't end there.